The trouble began the day Deborah Wilkins moved into the neighborhood. It was a quiet, well-kept community where most of the residents had lived for years and respected each other's space people. Here took pride in their homes and enjoyed the suburban tranquility they had built over decades when the house 3 doors down from Michael was listed for sale. He hadn't paid much attention. People came and went over the years, and the neighborhood remained the same. But the day Deborah Wilkins arrived there was an unmistakable shift in the air. Unlike the usual moving day chaos-friendly introductions, the exchange of names, and the occasional batch of welcome cookies. Before we continue, if you are watching our video for the first time, please bless and support us by hitting that subscribe button. Deborah's arrival was marked by a rigid sense of order. The first thing she did, even before unloading all her furniture, was put up a sign in her yard that read, "No loitering." It was an odd sight, considering the only loitering that happened on their street was the occasional chat between neighbors out on their morning walks. People exchanged glances, but gave her the benefit of the doubt. Perhaps she had moved from a rougher area, one where such a sign was necessary. Then came the clipboard. Deborah was seen walking up and down the street, meticulously jotting notes about properties. Some assumed she was making a checklist for her own reference, perhaps noting the best landscaping ideas for her new home. But the truth became evident soon enough. It didn't take long for Deborah to make a name for herself. Within her first week, she had reported no fewer than a dozen alleged violations to the Homeowners Association, HOA. A few of them seemed reasonable. Someone's grass had grown a little too long, and another home had an unapproved shed in the backyard. But then the reports grew more absurd. She filed complaints against a neighbor for leaving their garbage cans out 5 minutes past collection time. Another was warned about a basketball hoop that had been installed over a decade ago with the approval of the HOA. Then there was the case of the wind chimes. Deborah had targeted an elderly woman, Mrs. Patterson, for having a set of delicate tinkling wind chimes hanging on her porch. According to Deborah, they constituted a noise violation. Mrs. Patterson, confused and hurt, tried to reason with her. They've been there for 15 years. She explained no one's ever complained before. Deborah didn't care. The rules are the rules. She said neighbors were baffled by her behavior, but Michael kept to himself. He had learned over the years that troublemakers often burn themselves out. If he ignored her, she'd move on. Or so he thought. For a few months, Michael managed to avoid your scrutiny. His property was always in excellent shape, his lawn was neatly trimmed, his hedges maintained, and he followed all the HOA rules to the letter. He made sure his garbage bins were retrieved within minutes of collection. He didn't have a basketball hoop or wind chimes he watched, as his neighbors became more and more frustrated with Deborah's antics. Several had received fines for minor infractions, and others were caught in endless back-and-forth email exchanges with the HOA trying to justify things that had never been an issue before. Yet Michael kept his head down, assuming he'd stay clear of her nonsense. That was until the morning he found her in his backyard with a chainsaw. Michael had woken up early that Saturday morning, planning to enjoy his coffee on the back porch. The air was crisp, and the sound of birds chirping made for a peaceful start to the day. But as he stepped outside, he froze. Standing in his backyard near the towering century-old oak tree was Deborah Wilkins. She had a chainsaw in hand and had already made the first cut into the tree's trunk. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Michael shouted, rushing toward her. Deborah didn't even flinch. She turned to face him, her expression neutral. "This tree is in violation of HOA guidelines." She said matter-of-factly trees over 35.5 feet tall are not permitted in the neighborhood. Michael's blood boiled. "That's not true. There's no such rule." She held up a piece of paper, waving it in front of him. "I have documentation." She insisted. Michael snatched the paper from her hands. It was a printout of the HOA guidelines, but it had been altered. The font was slightly different in some sections, and upon closer inspection, it was clear someone had edited the document to include the supposed tree height restriction. "This is fake," Michael said, his voice sharp. "Who told you that you could come onto my property and cut down my tree?" Deborah pursed her lips. "I am the new HOA president." Every cent was going directly to her personal account, not the condo association's. Before we continue, if you are watching our video for the first time, please bless and support us by hitting that subscribe button and comment where you are watching from. She had fabricated meeting minutes and created fictional bylaws to support her scheme. The final piece of the puzzle came when I recorded her on my phone during a lobby coffee social. I pretended to be checking my emails while she boasted to the board's treasurer. "The beauty of being president is that I get to decide what community use means," she said with a laugh. "Mark doesn't deserve that spot. I'm just reallocating resources. Besides," she added, lowering her voice slightly, "the extra cash is a nice unofficial bonus for all the hard work I do." With the recording, the fake listing, and testimony from other residents she duped, we had everything we needed. We took the evidence to the police, who agreed that it was more than a simple civil dispute. They decided to act during the annual spring fling party in the lobby, Brenda's favorite event. She was in her element, wearing a sash that said "Condo President" and directing the catering staff with military precision. Two uniformed officers approached her, just as she was about to announce the raffle winner. I stood near the elevators, watching the scene unfold. An officer quietly explained that they had a warrant for her arrest on charges of fraud and theft. Brenda's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief and then to pure rage. "This is absurd," she yelled, causing the entire party to fall silent. "I am the president of this association. I have the authority to manage community property for the good of all." When the second officer produced handcuffs, her composure finally shattered. "You can't arrest me for trying to improve this building," she shrieked, backing away. "He wasn't using the spot. I was just making sure our residents were taken care of." As they led her towards the front doors, Brenda continued her tirade, her voice cracking with desperation. "I did this for you," she shouted at the stunned residents, "for our property values, for our community." Not a single person moved to defend her. Just before she was escorted out, her eyes met mine across the lobby. "You will regret this," she seethed, her face twisted with hate. "When this building falls apart without my leadership, you'll all be sorry." The district attorney brought several charges against her. At her hearing, Brenda was a shadow of her former self. Her sharp haircut was messy, her face was pale, and she was wearing a standard-issue jumpsuit. The judge denied her bail, citing the evidence that she had been using the stolen funds to plan a move. The prosecutor stated she was facing several years in prison. As she was led out of the courtroom, she saw me sitting in the back row. "It's all your fault," she mouthed, her eyes full of venom. Then, as the guard nudged her forward, the reality of the handcuffs and the charges seemed to finally sink in. For the first time, I saw real fear on the face of the woman who thought being condo president made her a queen.